All right, so prior to the fall 2020 semester, I thought I would do a little video introduction of myself and of the class, go over the syllabus. Normally, I would do this on the first day of class, but we're not going to meet face to face, as you know. In fact, there's never going to be a time this semester that you will be required to be at any place, at any specific place, online or any place else this semester. So it's totally asynchronous. There's never a time that you'll have to be online with me or anybody else. You should be able to work this class around your jobs, other classes, and travel or anything else you got going on, other than the reading and the listening to the lectures and the work that you're going to need to do. And that may take a little bit of time, although no more than a usual college class at American River College. But the class should be really doable. I don't really like the online format. I much prefer the face-to-face format, and I think I'm a much better lecturer in person than on YouTube. But we're going to make the best of this, and we're going to make it work. So anyway, this is my 30th year teaching at American River College full-time. I started in 1989 as a part-timer, then 1992 as a full-timer. I'm kind of a short timer. I'm not going to say exactly when I'm going to retire, but I think it's probably pretty soon. When I first started teaching many years ago with colleagues who have long since moved along, some of whom have died, in talking about retirement with them many years ago, one of them said, it's time to retire when you pass gas in class. So I haven't really done that yet, so maybe it's not time to retire. But on the other hand, not teaching face-to-face, I don't have that opportunity to pass gas in class. Really more likely the reason why I'm going to retire is because I'm getting too out of date, although I'd like to think that I'm staying in tune with students and my examples and my knowledge is still up to date. More importantly probably is that I'm getting older and there's things I want to do before my body completely falls apart. So I got to retire before too much longer. Anyway, prior to starting at American River College part-time in 1989, I worked locally for some marketing research companies, Beverly Enterprises and Eschaton, doing research in long-term care. And prior to that, I worked for a marketing research company in Evansville, Indiana for about a year. Prior to that, for 5 or 6 years, I was at the University of Notre Dame doing my PhD in social psychology. And prior to that, I worked for a couple of years prior to grad school, but prior to that, I graduated from Brigham Young University with my bachelor's degree in 1979. And prior to that, I went to school at American River College in 1973, 1974. And I was born in North Highlands, raised in Carmichael from the time I was 1 year old until I was about 18. I went to grade school, junior high, and high school in Carmichael. And anyway, after my second year of college at BYU, I got married, so I'll be coming on 43 years this November. We have 4 daughters, 8 grandkids, 6 granddaughters, 2 grandsons. 2 of our daughters live back east. One lives with us and one lives here in Orangeville. In my spare time, I love to golf. Not a very good golfer. I guess my excuse is that I started way too late. I was about 52 years old when I started. And then at the age of 59, almost 60, I had an accident in an ATV and ended up having a major stroke and ended up not being able to teach for a year and a half. And basically haven't done a whole lot of golfing in the last 4 or 5 years. 4 years now. So I never really got as good as I would have liked, but I'm still struggling at it. I am the proud owner of a hole-in-one on a 150-yard par 3 hole. But I need to keep working at it. I need to get back and play some more to get out of the where I was before, mid upper 80s. I'm a DIY person. There's pretty much not anything I won't try around the house, and so I spend most of my time outside of classes, schoolwork, doing projects around the house. And my wife and I and family love to travel. We've pretty much been all over Europe. Been to Japan 3 times, and we still have a lot of places we want to go. I have run a study abroad program in the summers in London from 2012 to 2020. We didn't go this summer, obviously, and I didn't go when I was laid up from my stroke for a couple of years. But I'm going to do some travel after I retire. Anyway, that's enough about me. Looking at the syllabus here. Basically, I'm just going to go through it and make sure you understand everything that's on here. And this syllabus is online in Canvas. The book is Psychology by Hockenberry and Nolan, 8th edition. It's a 2018 edition. It's just called Psychology, not Discovering Psychology. Any other book by any other author would not work. Now, you may try this 7th edition if you want to try to get cheaper, although I think there should be plenty of used copies of the 8th edition to make it cheap enough for you. But don't get Discovering Psychology by the same authors. No, don't get Psychology by different authors. Those will not work for this class. Now, the book is valuable. It's important for the class, so make sure you get it. You can get the ebook, audio book, or rental. It doesn't matter to me. You're just going to want to get it and make sure that you read and study the 14 chapters that we're going to cover. Let's skip in the syllabus to grading. Oh, first of all, on the syllabus, I don't have any set office hours, so the best way to get a hold of me is through my email, college email at ARC, Stewarm, STEWARM, STEWARM at arc.losrios.edu. You can email me anytime with any questions or any issues, and I'll generally get back to you within the day. If it's later in the day, if it's on a weekend, may have to wait till the next day, but generally within 24 hours, I'll get back to you. All right, so grading in the class, basically it's all about accumulating points. If you get 90% or better of the total possible points by the end of the semester, you got an A. 80 to 90 is a B. It's kind of the traditional grading format. So we have 14 chapters. We're going to cover about a chapter a week. We're going to start out a little slow, and actually you're going to have more time to do the assignments and to digest everything you need to learn in the class in this online version of the class than you would in a face-to-face class that we would have in an otherwise non-pandemic world. So anyway, 14 chapters, basically a chapter a week. We'll have a quiz on each chapter. The quizzes are worth 10 points. They're in Canvas. They'll open up about a week before they're due. And during that week's time, you can take the quiz as many times as you want. They're not timed. You have unlimited attempts, and the idea is take the quiz as many times as you need to get a perfect score, 10 out of 10. If you do that for every quiz, you should get 140 out of 140 points throughout the semester. And that will go a long ways toward helping you learn the material in the class, prepare for the test, and do well in the class. The idea is to do 100% perfect on everything it's easier that you can in this class, so that you have a cushion, so that when it comes to the harder things like the tests and the paper, and if you fall down a little bit on those assignments, you have that cushion to draw upon to still get your A or B in the class. Now the quizzes can't be made up. The first quiz will open up, I think, a week into the semester, and then you take it after the second week in the semester. You'll have about a week to take it, but after it's due, and let's take a look here. After it's due on September 9th, you won't be able to take the quiz any longer. It won't be available, and if you missed it, you won't be able to make it up. Now, if you miss a quiz, it gets dropped. In other words, your low quiz score will get dropped throughout the semester. So if you miss a quiz, it's not going to count, and so you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to ask me to allow you to make it up. You don't need to give me excuses or anything. Don't worry about it. It's not going to matter. Now, if you miss 2 or more quizzes, then it's going to start to hurt you, but still, I'm not going to allow you to make these up. So don't even ask. Every chapter is also going to have a discussion board associated with it. So I'll give you a prompt, and you're going to make 2 responses to those prompts on Canvas during the week allotted, or the week or 2 allotted for the discussion board post. It's worth 5 points. Your 2 responses are worth 5 points. The first one you do is your individual, kind of unique, well thought out response to the prompt. It's worth 3 points. The second response is a response to somebody else's response to the prompt. So you find another student in the class, read their response, and make a comment on that. That's worth 2 points. You should be able to get 5 points out of 5 on each one of these. But I'll tell you that when it comes to your initial response to the prompt and three-pointer, I'm pretty much going to give you 3 points for giving a basic thoughtful response. But when you make your response to the other student in the class, yes, I want you to be nice. I want you to be friendly and not do anything rude or inconsiderate or inappropriate or unethical or immoral in your response to another student. But sometimes I found the students, maybe because they're cutting corners, they're just too nice. They say things like, "Oh, that was a great response. I really love the way you put that. You have a way with words, and I totally agree." And if you do that, you're not going to get the 2 points. So you have to do more than that. When you give your response to another student, make sure you're adding something to the discussion. It's not enough to just repeat or praise or agree with the other student. Each time you need to, say, if you say something, "I agree with what you said, it's fantastic, but here's another thing that I thought about," or "Here's an example of what you're talking about, and here's another issue that I think is important to consider." Something like that. Some other embellishment, some other information you could add that adds to the discussion other than what the other student has already given you. So make sure you do that in that second response to another student each week to make sure you get those total 5 points each time. Again, if you get 5 points out of 5 every week, you're going to build up a cushion so that when you fall down on the test or the paper, if you do, you'll still get a decent grade in the class. I also will drop your lowest discussion board assignment score throughout the semester. So if you miss one of these, don't worry about it. You can't make it up, but it won't count. If you miss 2 or more, then they're going to start hurting you. Now, each week there's also going to be something called additional Canvas activities. So I'll direct you in Canvas to a video on the internet or an article on the internet. You go there, you read it, you watch it, and pay attention and get the gist. And just to make sure that you learn something from the source that I've given you, I'll give you a little mini quiz. In most cases, there will be 5 questions on the quiz, each one worth 2 points. So in total, these are 10-point quizzes. And they're basically just designed to make sure that you actually did read the article or watch the video and you got the basic information. Pretty much, if you're paying attention and you're careful, you should be able to get 10 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 on each one of these. Again, I'll drop your lowest score throughout the semester. So if you miss one, or if you happen not to do well on one, it's not going to hurt you because the lowest score is going to be dropped. Okay, so these 3 things, the quizzes, the discussion board posts, the additional Canvas activities, are going to be due pretty much every Wednesday night beginning September 9th throughout the semester. So September 9th will be Chapter 1, those 3 assignments. They'll be due at midnight. And you'll have access to each one of those for at least a week prior to their due date. The next week, we'll do Chapter 12. The next week after that, we'll do Chapter 11. And then we'll have a test on Chapters 1, 12, and 11. 50-point multiple choice test on Canvas. It'll be due the same night as the quiz and the discussion board post and the additional Canvas activities that are due for Chapter 11. So you do those things for Chapter 11, and then later that day or that night, that final day that the Chapter 11 stuff is due, you take the unit test 1 on Chapters 1, 12, and 11. Now, contrary to the quizzes, where you get unlimited attempts, and I didn't mention this, but on the additional Canvas activities, I give you 2 attempts to get 10 out of 10 on those little mini quizzes on the article or the video that you watch. But contrary to those additional times that you have to take, additional attempts that you have to take those quizzes, the test you only have 1 attempt. So 1 attempt, and it is timed. So to do 50 questions, you'll have about 67 minutes. And I've been talking about how if you fall down on the test or the paper, you should have had a cushion from your excellent, perfect performance on the other assignments to compensate. The reason why I mention that is because the tests do tend to be a little harder. Maybe because they're timed, maybe because they're a little more detailed, there's more questions. The scores tend to be a little bit lower. So just keep that in mind. Now, we'll do 3 more chapters, chapters 2, 9, and 3. Each one and its assignments due on the Wednesday of that week after we'll have covered the material in class. And then we'll take a test on chapters 2, 9, and 3. Again, 50 questions, all multiple choice on Canvas, 67 minutes. And then we'll do chapters 4, 5, and 6. Have a test on chapters 4, 5, and 6 when we're done with the 6th chapter. And then we'll do 7, 8, and 10. And that's another 50-point multiple choice test. And then the last test will be due the last week. And it's just on the last 2 chapters. It's 35 questions, 35 points. Now, you're going to have a summary analysis paper due also. Let's see, that paper is due... that due? November 9th. I'll tell you about that some more, and I actually have a video that will describe that paper for you so that you can do a good job on the paper. But it's worth 70 points, and I do grade those. I'm not an English teacher, but I do grade those in terms of your writing. I'll try to correct your writing and show you how to improve it, and I'll grade you on your thinking. And so I do give away A's for those who write extremely well and have some good depth in their analysis, and they definitely do summarize the article in a way that I understand the article without having to read it. But it's not uncommon for students to get lower A's or B's or C's on that assignment. So again, that's where that cushion on the other assignments comes into play. You can afford to not do as well on the test and the paper. If you've done completely well, perfectly on the other assignments, you can still get a B or an A in the class. And many students do get good grades in this class. Okay, I will talk more about the paper later. I should mention that the first assignment you're going to have is something called personal introduction. So I've described myself to you a little bit in this little video, but I want you to give me a description of yourself. Introduce yourself to me in a written introduction that you'll do, I think, do the second Wednesday of the class, so September 2nd. So the first week, get your feet wet, start looking at chapter 1 and start looking at doing those assignments. But on Wednesday of the second week, you'll turn in a brief introduction about yourself to me. Tell me anything that you think is important for me to know about you, anything that you think might be helpful for me to know about you as a student in my class. It could be long or short, but it doesn't have to be long. It'll be confidential, not that I'm encouraging you to say anything secretive or in the way of complete self-disclosure about yourself. But in case you wanted to give me some sensitive information about yourself because you think it might be useful for me to know you, you can put that in the video and your little written assignment there, and nobody else is ever going to see it, so don't worry about that. Okay. I think that is basically everything that I need to say about the class. I hope that the class goes well. I know that some of my lectures online are long, some of them are boring at times. I try to stimulate your thinking. Just work with me and we'll try to get through this. This is not the most ideal format, this non-face-to-face format, and I don't really like it as much, and you probably don't like it as much, but this class can still be rewarding, and you can still learn a lot, and I can still challenge your thinking, and I hope I do at least a few times, and I can still teach a lot about psychology and a lot about thinking in general through this class, and I hope we do. I hope it's a good semester for you. If you have any questions at any point, make sure that you email me and let me know, and any concerns, let me know, and I'll try to address them. Okay, have a good semester. See you soon online.